Okay, I have 9 o'clock, so we will convene the meeting of the Criminal Justice and County Affairs Committee. We'll start out with identification. I'm Frank Engler, and I am participating from my home in Deerfield Township, Isabella County, Michigan.
I am Jim Horton, Commissioner, District 4. I'm participating from my office, Big Rapids, Michigan, Mecosta County.
Okay, I see our administrator is just getting connected. So at this time, we'll have a call to the public. Nicole, is there anybody online?
There is no public at this time, Mr. Chairman.
Great. We will wait a few seconds. Okay, see, still no one there, Nicole?
Correct, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, we'll move on to item number 4. Consider approving the fiscal year 2022 community correction application and plan in the amount of $74,895. Would you like to address that?
Sure, thank you. So,
I would like to apologize. We had technical problems this morning, so I apologize for being late. I think we might
didn't
still
miss
freeze up,
anything
so I
yet.
apologize. I would like to turn the presentation over to Tom. Needs to be frozen.
Whoops, I'm sorry. I didn't catch that, Margaret. Did you, you're frozen.
I think she's on the wrong section anyway. I think it's Carrie up first, isn't she?
Carrie's up first, yes.
Yeah.
I can't understand her. She froze up completely now.
Yeah.
would you like me to go ahead or wait?
Yeah, why don't you start? I think yours is, I have a few questions for Tom on the other one, so let's start with yours. You are on the agenda first, so
Okay.
go ahead, please.
Thank you. So we are back again for 2022 for the community corrections application. It is going to look a little bit different this year. We have collaborated with the advisory board and the OCC specialist at the state level, plus looked at the community needs, the new laws, statistics, that kind of thing. So we intend to ask for group programming again, because that is a priority for offenders, but we'd like to use an off-the-shelf model of Thinking Matters. This is used by quite a few other courts in counties throughout Michigan. It will allow us to still provide a cognitive program, but it will cost significantly less. We will have a much more flexible schedule and be able to tailor that a little bit more for some offender success. So that is the big thing. The savings associated with that, we intend to divert to pretrial services, which is a big deal right now with the new laws, of course. So that will allow substance testing, electronic monitors, and those kinds of things to help keep the public safe and reduce non-appearances to court. The other program, excuse me, is the Interlock program that we started last year. It allows for drug court participants to have the Interlock device on their vehicle for 90 days. We are asking for that to go to 120 days, which allows them to get their driver's license back sooner so they can attend counseling in appointments, jobs, participate in family events, those kinds of things. So those are really the big changes. The dollar amount we're asking for is very similar to the dollar amount we asked for last year. Though we did receive less last year, if that happens again this year, we can still offer the programs outlined. We just won't be able to serve as many offenders.
Yeah, Carrie, we noticed, of course, the amount keeps getting a little bit less. How much of the new regulations affects the budget? I know the group programming actually saved a little bit, but how much has it actually increased your operating?
So that continues to be a moving target. There's certainly more offenders who are getting pretrial orders for drug testing and monitors and those kinds of things. So that cost is going up regularly. We have more indigent defendants. We were able to get quite a bit of COVID money to help cover that cost because of the pretrial release, but we all know that that's going to run out. So we wanted to make a plan to divert it, to try to cover the cost in other places. So it's definitely going up. I don't have a dollar figure, particularly because 2020 and 2021 continue to be everything COVID. So you never know exactly what things are going to look like.
Okay, I know this is the application looks a little bit off from the target here on this, but I know when we talked about doing more pre-trial programs and everything, it was gonna reduce the overall cost of the courts. Have you seen any of that yet, or is it too early to get a feel for that? We've been in the MIDC for quite a while, for over a year now, so are you seeing any of those savings, or just basically a different shifting of costs? You know what I'm talking?
Not exactly.
Okay.
To be honest with you.
Well, we were talking that if we move more stuff to the pre-trial, that it would save the courts in the long run, because that if you can handle things at the pre-trial before you actually get to the trial phase, that there would be some cost savings. Or is
So-
that not materializing, or is it more? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Tom might be able to speak a little bit more to this than I can.
Okay.
I think if I understand what you're referring to is if with the MIDC cases can be resolved before trial, would it save money?
Yes.
The court doesn't see that, but I don't know if Tom sees that.
Okay.
We don't deal with the MIDC funding anymore. That's all over in his bailiwick. So I just don't have the answer.
Okay, I'll ask that to Tom then, or he's listening, so. Commissioner Horton, Chairman Horton, do you have any questions?
Let's see here. Carrie, what is the reimbursement? Do people that participate, or people that are in this and they get all this, do they have to pay for, I know we're getting the money in, but is there any charge back to the person that's charged, or do they get any fees associated, or is this all the people that can't, only for the people that can't pay penalties like this, or how does that work?
So if we use this program, we can't charge anything back to the offender. But for pretrial services, if we have offenders who are able to pay, then they would pay for their own electronic monitors and those types of things. There's no charge for the group program for offenders to participate in that.
Okay. And for the ability to pay, how is that determined? Is that by, you have a formula you use, or they just basically state that I can't pay for it, or how does that work?
So it is typically, we have them provide us with something in writing that says that they are unable to pay and why. This is something relatively new because there wasn't a lot of direction for the court on determining indigency. Sometimes, and that's becoming more frequent, the judge is putting it on the record that the person is indigent so that they're not charged fines and costs except for the statutory ones. And when that happens, we automatically put them in the program where we pay for it.
Okay. All right, thank you. I have nothing else.
Margaret, do you have anything you wanted to add, or?
Well, I would just like to apologize to the chair and to the committee. We were having some technical issues at the end of the hall here, so I'm in Nicole's office now, so I apologize for coming late. No, I don't have anything to add regarding the content of the request. Carrie and her staff, as we all know, do a great job. So we're just supportive and agree with her recommendation to move it forward.
Okay, I will accept the motion to move this forward.
I will make a motion to consider approving the fiscal year 2022 Community Corrections application and plan in the amount of $74,895.
And I will support that. Motion's been made. Is there more discussion? Favor signify by aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Okay, we'll move that forward to the work session. Thank you,
Thank you.
Gary. Next up, we have consider submitting the compliance plan and cost analysis to the Michigan Indigent Defense Commission, IDC, for fiscal year 2022 in the total amount of $1,577,641.66, with the state contribution being $1,341,535.09, and the local share being $236,106.57. Public Defender, we have with us Public Defender, Mr. Hausman. Would you like to address this?
Yes. Good morning, Commissioners. Good morning, Ms. McAvoy.
Morning.
Essentially, yes, we are asking to reapply for our MIDC grant. As this committee is aware, this is about the third year that we've submitted a compliance plan and cost analysis for the MIDC grant. This is essentially this is the second year I've presented the cost analysis and financial or the cost analysis and compliance plan to the board and submitted it to the state. Throughout the, I guess, history of MIDC in Isabella County, we've had the opportunity to start a public defender's office here in Isabella County, which is a large undertaking. We essentially moved into our office last year, October 2019. And at the present time are fully staffed with attorneys. Obviously, it's taken some time, not only due to COVID-19 to hire everyone, but we started out basically with one attorney and some support staff. So at the present time, we are fully staffed with attorneys and support staff. The only remaining unfilled position in the office is the full-time investigator. But now that we are fully staffed, I believe that we'll be able to move towards that direction and hiring that position. If not in the rest of this fiscal year, but certainly the next fiscal year. As of the present time, I included in the staff report the number or the volume of cases that have been appointed for indigent defense in Isabella County have been handled through our office. From October 2019 to the present date, there will be 1,785 total cases have been handled by appointed counsel. Obviously, that's a significant caseload. It doesn't change our staffing levels or anything like that. We're at a comfortable spot where we are right now. The important part is that the calculation of the local share for this fiscal year 2022 actually was reduced from what it was in fiscal year 21. That's based on a baseline calculation done in 2019. Last year, the local share was a 2.1% calculation, and this year is a 1.2% calculation. So it actually decreased by approximately $23,000. I believe we've seen a significant increase in the quality of indigent representation in our county. I've witnessed that firsthand throughout putting together a good staff, being able to handle the large and often complex cases that indigent defense bears with it. And so, we've submitted or we've completed a compliance plan and a cost analysis, and we would like the board's permission to submit that to the MIDC to hopefully get approved on their first go around of approvals.
Okay. Maybe this would be a discussion maybe for the work session, something, but I'd like you don't have to go through it now, but maybe talk about how your office operated during the COVID crisis and what do you feel like that? I don't think maybe the entire board would hear that little bit about that when you at the work session, if you could possibly.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can give you a little background right now. Obviously, when it first started, it was, the court was completely shut down, and we made a plan to only handle first appearances, meaning arraignments, And largely that's all we were handling. The court was operating with myself, the prosecutor, and a magistrate every day, deciding if we were going to conduct an arraignment or give someone a personal recognizance bond, meaning that they would be released without having to post any type of money bail. That continued from the end of March of 2020 to sometime in May of 2020. At that time, the court started handling virtual hearings through direction from the Michigan Supreme Court. And so we were able to, MIDC had actually preliminarily approved everyone to get Zoom subscriptions in order to comply with these virtual hearings. Since that time, most hearings have been conducted virtually via Zoom, and a mixture of Zoom and Polycom, which we have in our office. That's one of the additions that we've made to our cost analysis and compliance plan, is the addition of a second Polycom unit for our office. During this year, the jail increased their usage of Polycom from 2 systems to 4 systems in order to facilitate Zoom hearings. At the present time, we have 1 Polycom unit in our office that's shared between 6 attorneys. And so in order to facilitate compliance with the MIDC standards, it would be helpful to have a second Polycom unit in our office in order to better communicate with our lodged clients. As of now, the court has conducted 2 jury trials. They both took place between February and the present date. Those were obviously handled in person. Criminal law essentially prevents the use of virtual hearings to do a jury trial. And so those were done in person. But as of right now, jury trials are back halted due to the rising COVID numbers. So it's a bit of back and forth. Our staff has been split in 2 to essentially have 2 teams to limit any potential COVID exposure. Our office, like any, I can't say any other office in the county, but like a lot of other offices in the county has had COVID exposure back in, I believe it was October. And so we've split the office in 2 so that we can limit that potential exposure.
Okay, I know Chairman Horton brought a little bit on this on our last discussion. During the committee, when we were forming it, we talked a lot about the indigent and compliance and hoping that the state would come up with some system that determines who qualifies and who doesn't. Has that changed anything, or have you heard anything that's coming down the pike yet or not?
There's not a baseline number. It's determined by essentially the federal poverty guidelines.
Okay.
And so when we meet with someone who's recently been lodged, or even if they haven't been lodged, if they are scheduled for that first appearance, a member of our staff will meet with them ahead of that arraignment date to discuss with them, number one, what their charges are, what the maximum possible penalties are, what an arraignment is, what the first steps in the court system are. And then one of the important things is we will review a request for a court-appointed attorney with them and whether or not they're likely to qualify based on those federal poverty guidelines. We fill out the request for a court-appointed attorney. At the present time, we submit it to the court with their permission. Normally, that's a form that they would sign themselves, but due to the pandemic, we're filling out that form and submitting it on their behalf. It is then approved by the judge based on those federal poverty guidelines, and then given back to our office to appoint an attorney if it's approved. Most times it's pretty clear whether or not someone's going to be approved or not.
Chairman Horton, do you have any questions?
Real quick, again, I'm asking this out of ignorance because this is not the type of law I practice, but when someone gets for their first arraignment or their first time in front of the court, do you guys go with everyone in the county, or is that just how does that work again?
So we've developed a form that is circulated at the jail every morning to everyone that's a new arrestee, whether it's new charges, whether it's probation violation, anything like that. That form explains to the individual what their rights are going forward and kind of gives them an overview of the criminal justice system. It also has, it also describes to them their right to have an attorney under MIDC standards and under the statutes, to have an attorney represent them at that first court hearing. So they have a number of choices. Number one being, yes, I'd like to speak with someone from the public defender's office and have them appear with me at my arraignment. Two, I don't want a public defender to appear with me at my arraignment because I've retained my own attorney. Three, that yes, I'd like to speak with someone from the public defender's office, and then I'll make my decision whether I want them to appear with me at my arraignment, or no, I'm fine, I'll handle it myself. So we get those forms from the jail every morning, sent over to our email address so that we know who we need to meet with during the course of that day. It's a little bit different for people that aren't necessarily lodged or scheduled for an arraignment. During kind of the way the court is operating at the present time is the court is contacting people with their arraignment date and asking them if they would like to speak to an attorney. They're basically then scheduling them at certain times throughout the day. They're scheduled between 8:30 and 9:45 every morning. And so if an arraignment is scheduled between 8:30 and 9:45 in the morning, we already know that that person wants to talk to us. And so we will go ahead and contact them prior to that date and go over all that same information.
Now, when you say every day, is that Monday through Friday? Is that weekends? Is that holidays? How does that work?
Monday through Friday.
Okay. So what about after hours? Any type of after hours situations that you encounter, all right, for your office? Is it just pretty much Monday through Friday?
Monday through Friday.
Okay. And those are done on, you said you can do those possibly from home, from Zoom. You have to go into the office, or how does that work?
So the way we have it with our schedule right now is the attorneys that are scheduled in the office that week will handle the afternoon arraignments, which are the ones for people that have new arrestees. So people that are appearing in front of the magistrate at 2:30 p.m. For essentially new charges. And then again, the ones that are appearing at 3 o'clock in front of a judge for probation violations. And then the ones that are scheduled in the morning are the responsibility of the attorneys that are working remote that week. So that way it's split up so that everyone has time to also, represent their clients as well.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Now, if the client is the client, again, I'm just trying to grasp this because like I said, I'm not used to this. So the attorney that's doing it in the morning, they're doing it from their, we'll say, home. Where is the client? Is the client in jail? Is the client at their home? How does that work? Or
the morning arraignments are not lodged.
okay.
I can't say always. Sometimes they might be lodged in another county or something of that nature, but 9 times out of 10, they are not lodged. They have the option of, number one, doing it from their own home if they have Zoom capabilities. Number two, the court has an iPad that they will wheel outside to that person, and they will conduct their arraignment standing at the front desk or front doors of the courthouse using the court's iPad. Or the third option is our office has a laptop that is set up just for that purpose, so that if people do not have internet access, do not have Zoom capabilities, they are able to use that laptop at our office to participate in not only that first arraignment, but any hearing that they may need to.
Thank you. Yeah, this is kind of, you don't think about all this stuff, all the intricacies of it, but this Zooming and everything, just like our meeting here. I mean, I can just imagine how that would work. I mean, the frustration level sometimes, it's probably going smooth 75, 80, 90% of the time, but that little bit of time, I can just imagine some of the stress levels that go up there. So,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
all right. Well, thank you for answering my questions. That's all I have at this time. Chairman Engler.
Yeah, Mr. McAvoy, do you have any questions?
No, I don't have any questions, but if I may, sir, I would just like to say, there's putting the plan together, which, as you all know, was a lot of work and heavy lifting, and really, Judge Spencer Nago was such a great partner in that and did such a great job for us. But the implementation is where the rubber meets the road. And Tom has been the public defender since September, I believe, of 2019. Correct, Tom?
That's correct.
And he got hired as the chief deputy public defender. And then about 4 weeks later, it was like, oh, no, now the public defender is a judge. And Tom was promoted. And I will tell you, I tell Tom this a lot, but I want the board to know. Tom not only is a very good attorney, Tom is an excellent department head. And it's a different world to be a department head in a county operation. There's all sorts of things to be considered and taken care of. So on top of the great job he does as a public defender and organizing all of this, and you will get a new update to our COVID plan this week. And in that update, you will see a chart that has what all of the departments and the offices in the county are doing regarding remote and on-work opportunities. And Tom immediately put this two-team system in with his staff. So people are there, a week at a time and absent a week at a time, which, yes, they had some COVID cases at Public Defender's Office in the fall, but he has done a great job trying to keep this folks distance and keep the infection rate down. And I'm really happy. The other thing to remember too is that the court has to operate under the guidelines of the Michigan Supreme Court. And their guidelines are very strict. And Tom made a comment about they're not having jury trials again because of the uptick in the county. That uptick in the county, and this isn't the committee to necessarily go into the deep dive of that, but that uptick in the state and in our county is going to affect our operations again, and I think fairly soon. So the court has already had to pivot away from jury trials again because the state court administrator's office via the Supreme Court is telling them to do that. I just want to say that, I would stand our public defender's office up against any other one in the state. And I am very grateful to Tom for the great leadership job and the wonderful staff he has put together. And I'm just can't say enough of supportive things. He does a great job.
Thank you.
Margaret, I'd like to echo that. And also, I'd like to congratulate Margaret. I know you're actively involved in this MIDC. That's another feather in the county's cap also, is your involvement that helps kind of facilitate and
Thank you.
kind of, sets up the county. You set up the county, and Tom, you took the ball and ran with it. So it's both of you to be congratulated with it. So I actually took the puck and skated with it. We'll
You
go
did.
that route. So we'll go that route. We'll not take the ball.
Oh, we're not going to talk about hockey all the time, are we now?
He shot it into the goal.
Frank,
He shot it into the goal.
Frank, as you can see from the picture, he's much younger and his P number is much higher than mine. So
There you go.
So
Still over 30.
I do
that's
have
all
one-
that matters.
I do have one question for our administrator there. I'm glad to see that the local share is being what it is, because we've always been kind of worried about that increasing. I don't know. I would like to get the numbers for what the cost of the juvenile portion of it is, which is not covered by the MIDC, just so I can kind of keep track of that. I don't know if you want
Sure.
to email that to me, or if you think that's something. But I always like to kind of keep track of those numbers.
Yes.
Kind of.
it might be a good thing, just get maybe an overall statement on both the juvenile and the probate.
Okay.
Just to kind of see where we're at with the indigent offense, and kind of so the public will know that, hey, this is I don't see those costs decreasing. Well, maybe now, but it's those are
I just like
Yeah.
to kind of keep them all together in a
the
context.
whole-
so we can kind of
right.
look at 'em.
Correct. So
Happy
I
to do
agree.
that. I will
Yeah.
also yes, I'm happy to do that. I'll also just remind you that the local share is based on the average cost of that adult indigent defense coverage that the county did without any state support in 11, 12, and 13. And so these percentages increase. One thing that the administrative the administrative controllers and myself, which about 8 of us or 9 of us, have coalesced to work with MAC on the contracts and the plans and all of the management end of this. One thing that we really drove home, and I believe we've certainly won it so far, I hope we continue, is that any of those increases are not compounded. So if there was a 3% increase this year and next year it's a 2%, it's not on top of the 3%. It's on top of the average from the 11th, 12th, and 13th. And I will tell you that was somewhat of a vicious battle, but we won it and we're holding on to it. And the fact that the calculation went down this year, you know, that's good news. I don't think we should count on it, but it was good news for this year. So that is the calculation for the average of 11, 12, and 13 is in the legislation. So that is not going to be able to be changed by any management at MIDC or even the current commission. So that's a good thing that that's carved in cement, but we can get those other numbers for you. Absolutely.
Great. Are there any more questions for Public Defender Hausman? Thank you for the report. We'll move forward, or I will make a motion to move this forward to the work session.
I'll support it.
It's been moved and supported to move this to the work session. Is there any more discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, signify by aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. The motion has passed. We will move this forward to the work session. Thank you again to Mr. Hausman.
Thank you.
Moving on, we have called to the public. I see Nicole and must have one. I see Margaret and Nicole's thing, but is Nicole there? There she is.
Yes, I'm here. There's no public at this time, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. I see you guys are sharing your space there, so.
Well, we are until that technology glitch gets taken care of. I'm sure Michelle is on it.
The Hollywood Squares is broken up. You got two people in there, you know, that's. Okay, is there anybody would like to make any other comment before we close the meeting?
All set, Frank.
All set.
Okay, seeing none, I will adjourn the meeting. Thank you.
Thank
all.
you.
Yep.
I hit end?
No.
Let me get out of your way. Here. I don't know where your hand sanitizer is, or I clean off your mouth for you. Ew. I think that's the only thing of yours I touched. Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Hopefully it's fixed.
It sounds like Michelle has it all fixed, yes.
Did you hear from her? Because I haven't heard from her.
Yes, she texted.
Okay, thank you.